3 ordinary pennies. Or something much bigger? At first glance, they look completely normal. Old, brown, worn. The kind of coins most people ignore. The kind that sit quietly in jars, drawers, or forgotten collections. But what if I told you, among 3 simple wartime pennies, one single coin, just one, could be worth enough to buy 4 to 6 dream cars? Or maybe a luxury dream house? Sounds impossible for 1 cent, right? That's the power of history. That's the power of rarity. That's the power of condition. These 3 coins were struck during the most intense years of global conflict. A time of metal shortages, a time of wartime pressure, a time when small minting decisions created massive future value. Most of these pennies are worth only a few cents. But one rare survivor, in the right metal, from the right mint, in the right condition, can change everything. Before you ignore another old wheat penny, make sure you know what you're holding. Because sometimes, life-changing money hides in the smallest places. Welcome back to OldCoin Secrets. Coin number 1, 1944 steel wheat cent, a wartime mistake that was never supposed to exist. Some coins are remembered for beauty. Some coins are remembered for history. But some coins are remembered because they were never meant to be made. The 1944 steel wheat cent belongs to that category. It was struck during one of the most intense years of World War II, a time when the world was already changed forever. America was deep in global conflict. Factories were producing weapons. Resources were rationed. Every metal mattered. And yet, somehow, a mistake happened. In 1943, pennies were made from steel, coated with zinc because copper was needed for the war effort. In 1944, the mint officially switched back to copper, using recycled shell casings from the battlefield. But a few leftover steel planchets remained in the machines. And they were struck with the 1944 date. They were never planned, never announced, never meant to leave the mint, yet a few escaped. Today, they are among the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered. America in 1944, war at full force. The year 1944 was not calm. Allied forces had landed in Normandy, D-Day. The Pacific War continued fiercely. American industry was operating at maximum capacity. Metal shortages were real. Copper was critical for ammunition and military equipment. That is why 1943 pennies were made of steel. And that is why 1944 pennies were supposed to return to copper only. The appearance of a steel 1944 cent was purely accidental. The Lincoln wheat cent, a familiar design. By 1944, the Lincoln wheat cent design had already been circulating for 35 years. First introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it was designed by Victor David Brenner. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. By 1944, it was completely established and trusted. No one expected anything unusual, which makes the steel version even more shocking. Design details how to identify it. Obverse, front. Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date 1944. Reverse, back. 2 wheat stalks. 1 cent. United States of America. The design looks normal, but the metal is not. Instead of copper brown, the coin appears silver gray. And unlike normal 1944 cents, this one sticks to a magnet. That is the first major clue. Where the 1944 steel cent was struck. These rare errors were produced at Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D mint mark. San Francisco, S mint mark. All 3 mints have confirmed examples. But the total number known is extremely small, estimated at fewer than 40 authentic pieces across all mints. That is true rarity. Why this coin is so valuable? The 1944 steel wheat cent combines 3 powerful factors. 1, it is a major mint error. 2, it comes from the World War II era. 3, it is extremely rare. Because of this, auction prices have reached astonishing levels. Certified examples have sold for $100,000 plus in lower circulated grades, $300,000, $700,000 in higher grades, some exceptional pieces approaching or exceeding $1 million. From 1 cent to life-changing money, this is not hype. This is documented auction history. Be careful, many fakes exist. Because of its value, many fake versions exist. Common tricks include plating a normal 1944 copper cent with steel coating, altering a 1943 steel cent to look like 1944, counterfeit mint marks. Important, a magnet test is only the first step. Real authentication must come from major grading services like PCGS or NGC. Without certification, value drops significantly. What collectors look for? When examining a potential 1944 steel cent, experts check correct weight, around 2.7 grams for steel, Magnetic response. Surface texture and strike quality. Authentic date shape. Original mint mark placement. Small details determine six-figure differences. Why this coin matters. The 1944 steel wheat cent represents a wartime manufacturing mistake. The pressure of global conflict. A rare survival from industrial chaos. It was never supposed to exist. That is what makes it powerful. It is a reminder that even in strict systems, mistakes can create legends. Most 1944 pennies are copper and worth only a few cents. But if you ever find one that looks silver and sticks to a magnet, stop. Because that quiet little coin could be worth more than a luxury car. Maybe more than a house. All from a single cent struck by accident during one of the most dramatic years in world history. And that is the power of the 1944 steel wheat cent. Coin number 2, 1945 D wheat penny. A penny struck as the war was ending. In 1945, factories were still running. Soldiers were still overseas. America was still at war. And through all of it, the 1945 D wheat penny entered circulation. Not as a collectible, not as a rare error, but as everyday money in a nation on the edge of history. America in 1945, the end of a global war. The year 1945 changed the world forever. Germany surrendered in May, VE Day. Japan surrendered in September, VJ Day. World War II officially ended. Millions of soldiers began returning home. The country was transitioning from wartime production to peacetime rebuilding. Industry was shifting. The economy was preparing for a new era. The 1945 D wheat penny circulated during this exact turning point. The Lincoln wheat cent, a war-era design. By 1945, the Lincoln wheat cent had already survived the Great Depression, the 1943 steel cent experiment, metal shortages, wartime rationing. The design, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, remained unchanged and trusted. It had become a symbol of stability. Design details, simple but historic. Obverse, front. Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date, 1945. D mint mark below the date. Reverse, back. 2 wheat stalks. 1 cent. United States of America. The coin was made of copper again, unlike the 1943 steel cent, because recycled shell casings were being used during the war years. That gives these coins subtle historical significance. Why the D mint mark matters. The D stands for the Denver Mint. In 1945, Denver struck a large number of cents, over 260 million pieces. That means the coin is not rare in lower grades. But here's where things change. High-grade examples are much harder to find. Most were heavily circulated as the country celebrated the end of war and resumed normal. Spending patterns, mint state survivors, with strong red color are far scarcer than the mintage suggests. This is the difference between quantity and condition rarity. Market value, realistic price ranges. 1945 D. Wheat penny values vary by condition. Good, G4. 010, 025. Fine, F12. 025, 075. Very fine, VF20. $1, 3. Extremely fine, XF40. 3, 8. About uncirculated, AU. A20, mint state, MS63 brown. 25, $50. Mint state, MS65 red. 150, 400 plus. Premium red gems in higher grades can cross. 14,400 at auction. Condition changes everything. What collectors look for. When evaluating a 1945 D wheat penny, serious collectors check 1 strong hair detail above Lincoln's ear, 2 clear cheek and jaw definition, 3 sharp wheat lines on the reverse, a bold original D mint mark, 5 natural red or red-brown surfaces. Cleaning destroys value. Artificial shine is a warning sign. Original surfaces bring premiums. Why this coin matters. The 1945 D wheat penny represents the final year of World War II, America's transition from war to peace, the return of copper coinage after shortages, a nation preparing for economic expansion. It is not famous for rare mint errors. It is powerful because of its timing. It circulated during the exact year the world reset itself. Most 1945 D wheat pennies are worth only a few cents, but in high-grade condition, especially with original red color, they can become surprisingly valuable. More importantly, they represent the closing chapter of a global conflict that reshaped history. So if you ever find a 1945 D wheat penny, pause, because that small copper coin may have passed through hands celebrating the end of war, carrying hope into a brand new era. Coin number 3, 1942 S wheat cent. A wartime penny struck before America entered the storm. Some coins are made during war. Some coins are made after peace. But some coins are struck in the tense silence, right before everything changes. The 1942 wheat cent belongs to that powerful moment in history. It was minted in a year when America had just entered World War II. The attack on Pearl Harbor had happened only months earlier. The nation was mobilizing. Factories were converting to military production. Resources were tightening. And yet, everyday life continued, and pennies still circulated. America in 1942, a nation transforming. The year 1942 marked America's first full year in World War II. War production expanded rapidly. Young men were drafted into service. Rationing began affecting daily life. The economy shifted toward total war. Copper was becoming increasingly important for military equipment and ammunition. That's why 1942 is historically important. It was one of the last full copper years before the famous 1943 steel cent experiment. The 1942 wheat cent represents the final stage of normal copper production before drastic wartime metal changes. The Lincoln wheat cent, strong and familiar. By 1942, the Lincoln wheat cent had been in circulation for over 30 years. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, it featured Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the front, 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. Classic American simplicity. It was trusted, recognized, part of daily commerce. And in 1942, it carried the weight of a nation preparing for war. Design details what to look for. Obverse, front. Lincoln facing right. In God we trust. Liberty. Date 1942. Mint mark below the date. Reverse, back. 2 wheat stalks. 1 cent. United States of America. The 1942 was made of 95% copper. It has the classic warm brown to red color collectors love. Why the mint mark matters. The S stands for the San Francisco Mint. In 1942, San Francisco produced over 85 million cents. That means the coin is not rare in circulated grades. But here's the important part. San Francisco coins from this era often show weaker strikes compared to Philadelphia issues. That means sharply struck. Fully detailed examples are harder to find, especially with strong red color. Collectors pay premiums for bold mint mark, sharp wheat lines, strong hair detail, original red surfaces. Condition changes everything. Market value, realistic price ranges. 1942 wheat cent values typically fall into these ranges. Very fine, VF20, $1, 3. Extremely fine, XF40, 3, 8. About uncirculated, AU, $10, 25 ounce. Mint state, MS63 brown, $30.60. Mint state, MS65 red, 250, 600 plum. Exceptional high-grade red examples can cross $13,000 at auction. Again, most are common, but premium condition coins are a different story. What collectors check first? Serious collectors inspect 1 hair detail above Lincoln's ear, 2 cheekbone sharpness, 3 wheat line clarity, 4 strong, original mint mark, 5 natural red or red-brown surfaces. Cleaning destroys value. Shiny does not mean rare. Originality equals premium. Why the 1942 matters. The 1942 wheat cent represents America's first full year in WWII, the final copper phase before steel cents. Wartime industrial pressure. A nation preparing for long global conflict. It is a quiet transitional coin. Within 1 year, the US Mint would switch to steel cents in 1943. But in 1942, copper still flowed, just before the dramatic change. Final thought. The 1942 wheat cent may not be the rarest coin in the series, but it carries powerful historical weight. It represents the moment America fully entered World War II, while everyday life still continued. So if you find a 1942 wheat penny, look closely, because that small copper coin was struck at the edge of one of the most dramatic turning points in modern history. So now you've seen it. 3 simple wartime pennies. 3 different moments in history. 3 completely different value levels. Most people would walk past them. Most people would spend them without thinking. But smart collectors know history hides in small details. The right mint mark, the right metal, the right condition. That's the difference between 1 cent and something worth dream cars or even a dream house. Always check your old coins. Never clean them, and never underestimate small money. Because sometimes, the smallest coin in your collection can carry the biggest surprise. If you enjoyed this video and want to discover more hidden coin treasures, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Your next valuable coin story might be just one video away.